morning, everyone. This is Tony from our Homestead Skills. Well, I've been saying that I've been waiting for tomato season to start, and you know, it should be about now. Usually mid-August, you start to see tomatoes. I have seen nothing in the stores. Not necessarily that I want to buy from the stores, but I've seen nothing there, and usually that's where you start to see, you know, 25-pound boxes. And one store that I know has bushels, you know, 50-pound bushels, probably at a better price than the farms. But because I haven't seen them at the stores, I decided to take a trip up to the farms this morning. And I double-checked and made sure that they were open. I didn't phone them. I assumed that they would have tomatoes, and I was not wrong. They probably had shelves and shelves, probably about 50 bushels of tomatoes already. And when I was there, there was already a lady buying, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 bushels. And I picked up 2, and a bushel is about 50 pounds. A bushel basket is 50 pounds. So I picked up 100 pounds today, and I paid $27 for a bushel basket of small Roma tomatoes, and yeah, quite heavy. But anyway, the girl and, you know, the fellow who was loading up the original woman went off for some reason, someplace to do something. So the lady and I moved the tomatoes into my car. And the deal is up here, if you, and it's always been that way that I know of, that if you want the bushel itself, they used to charge $1, now it's $2 extra. I have no use for the bushel baskets. They would just go to waste here. So I said, you know, sure, put them in the box. It's a whole lot easier for me to manage in the box. So what they do is you pick whatever bushel basket of tomatoes you want. To me, they're all pretty much the same. Some people are very particular that it has to be that bushel or this bushel, but I see very little difference. They were all pretty much the same amount of ripeness. I didn't see any that were green, and they're all ready to be preserved. There's no needing for them to get ripe, so which is the way I'm more accustomed to seeing them up here. So yeah, I picked 2, and then her and I dumped them into a box. Like, she already placed the boxes in the trunk of my car, and then we just took the bushels over and dumped them right into the boxes. So getting rid of boxes is going to be a whole lot easier for me, and it saved me $4. So it's all good. So today I've got my work cut out for me. I have to clear everything away, pull out my machine, but before that I've got to wash tomatoes and boiled tomatoes and then let them sit for the liquid to drain out of them for a while. So that's stage number 1. So here I go. Okay, so just wash those few dishes, get them out of the way, and actually right now I'm just going to fill up the one clean sink with water and dump a whole bunch of tomatoes in there. So here we go. Let's get this process started. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Now these are all fairly clean. I don't really see any dirt and mud on them, but I do like to give them a quick wash anyway. And I've got way too many of them in this sink. So we're just going to pull some out temporarily until I get the other sink clean. But they're beautiful tomatoes. Small, but I don't have an issue with them being small. See, that one's got a little bit of mud on it, but very few of them do. Okay, so now these can be washed, but before that I'm going to get the breakfast coffee mugs and dishes out of the other sink so I can use both of them. Okay, well now I'm going to use my pressure canner, fill this up with water so that I can boil the tomatoes, and I'm using it because it can hold probably the largest amount of water and largest amount of tomatoes on this particular stove. So, as much as I would love to do this outside, I have no place to do this outdoors. And outdoors you can certainly use larger pots and the propane burner, which I will be doing when I'm back in Alabama. But for now, I have to do this in this kitchen. It is very sanitary, at least. That's the one positive. Anyway, I think I have more than enough water for me to at least move this over to the stove. I can add more now. So I'm going to start the process of boiling that water. And because this is a large pot, I can certainly add some more. Now definitely the first batch is going to take the longest because the water has to come up to boiling. So we'll take it from there. So now the next step, of course, is just to wash all these tomatoes. So that's what I'll be doing first. And I have the other sink there emptied, so I can put the ones that I know are clean. And once like I said, they just need a quick go over. Take out anything that is bad or wash anything that is dirty, but I'm not seeing anything of any consequence. They're all quite perfect. I think I did crush one or two of them in my car though, trying to get them out. So step number 1, wash. Meanwhile, I have to clear off this whole space because I'm going to utilize this whole table. So I'm going to move everything onto my dining room table. Rather than work on my dining room table, I utilize this space and just put everything aside for the time being. And of course, those are all usually comes from anything anymore. Okay, we're in there. Okay, last lines. And so we have to wash this out. Okay, now we've got these clean workspace. Okay, these have been washed a couple of times now, from one sink to the next and back. And I like to just use a strainer to grab a whole pile of them and put them in the pot. Now those are just going to be in that pot until they boil and the skin just splits. That's all you need, is to know that the skin has split and we're good to go. Then they can be pulled out. And yeah, the bigger the pot, the more you can put in there and the quicker you can get through this process. So I think that's good for now. So we'll get this other batch out of this sink and start to put a bunch more in the second sink to wash. So, here I am. Okay, first batch is out, second batch is in, and the first one always takes the longest, so let's get this show on the road. Big job is boiling these tomatoes. Now I'm just speaking to my daughter, and I had given her my mother's electric machine, and she might electric pressure because my electric was not powerful enough, but I had an attachment to do sausage this morning, so I wanted to keep that. But she's not going to do, so she's going to take it, I'd love to have it back. That way I can take my machine downstairs as well. So she's absolutely I'll be so then make that all easier too. Okay, well, I have finished the boiling procedure. That took like 3 hours, and I'm pretty much done one. I've done 2 buckets of boiling, and I'm pureeing it now. This machine is awesome. I've already got one just about done, and I'm going to start on the second one in a minute. But I'm going to turn this on, and it's going to be noisy. Okay, that's it for that bucket, and it looks like my power is going to run out here, so I'm going to shut this off. So let me bring that closer. So I've got 1 bucket of puree done, and I've got a second bucket here to get done, and I've got to get rid of that before I start the second bucket. And I've got jars already, so I'm going to recharge my microphone, and hopefully I will have all the puree done and we'll start to load, and I have some charge in my microphone. Okay? Okay, I will be water bath canning, so I've got 2 pots on the stove right now. It is nowhere near adequate for what I need to do. But we'll just have to bear with it, that's what we have. So I think I could fit 9 in this one and probably about 5 in that one. So got quite the job ahead of me today. So I have first bucket here. And I've got my lemon juice, and I got my jars, lids, rings. So I've got my vinegar, I've got my little magnetic wand, and I need a bowl for vinegar. Might as well get a sizable one here. Okay, a bowl for vinegar, and I guess I'm going to need some paper towels. So I've got lids, rings, everything's here except my paper towel. Now I've got a 5-gallon bucket there of puree. We'll start off with this one. And I've got probably another, at least half of a 5-gallon bucket of puree, a second one. So, yep, lots of tomato. And I was thinking of doing this again tomorrow, but I don't know, maybe I'll wait a day. So, let's start to fill her up. Oh, got my lemon juice here. Since I'm water bath canning, I will be adding lemon juice. So 1 tablespoon per pint. If you were doing quarts, you have to add 2 tablespoons per quart. So let's just get a bunch of these filled up and get them canned, lids sealed, lemon juice in, and get them on the stove, because we're going to have quite a process here to get this done tonight. I don't know how late I'll be working into the night. So I think I'm filling these up a bit too much, but I will take care of that in a minute after I've got most of it done. Let's see, I said probably 9 for my large canner, and maybe 5, so we're looking at about 14 here. 3, 6, 7. 8. And that would make it 14. Jars should be clean. Okay, oops. Okay, I'm going to start off with the first 5 and load up the first canner. I've got the water boiling. Okay, so lemon juice, 1 tablespoon per pint jar. And I've got a couple of bottles, 1, 2, 3, or 5. So when this one runs out, I've got another 2 to go. Okay. Now, and I'm going to stir these. And clean the rims. So 1, 2. I've already given these a quick wipe, but now I'm doing the rims. And that was just I took out some of the tomato in some of the jars that were too full and wiped some that had overly spilt on the side. So this one looks like it's still a bit too full. Okay. Now let's get these in a pot. Okay, and I've got a pot on the stove there. I'm going to start off with the small one here. And I've got water in it already. Now these have to be totally covered up. The water has to be above the rims of the jars. And I believe I have enough water in here to be able to do that. And I'm correct that we can only fit 5 in there. I think I've done this before. Okay, and there we are. Water is definitely over the rims of these jars. Now I'm going to do the other 9, get that one going, and then we're going to start setting the timer once this comes to a boil. Now this water was hot, and these jars are warm, but they're not hot. So we'll give them we're going to allow them to come to a really good boil before we start the timer. Okay, so I've got my pressure canner full of jars of tomatoes too, and as I said, I'm not pressure canning, I am water bath canning. I really don't like, I did pressure can tomatoes once and I didn't like the way they turned out. So I do water bath canning only. Now for pint jars, they have to be water bath canned for 40 minutes. So I've got quite the job ahead of me tonight. As you can see, I have that bucket and I have, oh geez, another one here to can up. So I've got my job ahead of me. So I'm just going to continue along, and when these are all jarred up, I'll get back to you. Okay, well I ended up with 61 pint jars, and that's pretty much average for me, the way I make this puree. I worked till a bit after 10 o'clock at night, so this was a full 12-hour day, but I got a lot accomplished, and I think I'm going to go back for at least another 50 pounds of tomatoes and I should have more than enough to last the year at that point. This is Tony from our Homestead Skills. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.